Oh yeah. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up before we get into the show, because there was some. I've been more active on Twitter lately because I see a lot of stuff on there. I don't see any spoilers, which is good, but I did see this tweet, and I was like, "Really? We still doing this?" Your
Wait,
man Bret Hart trying to get Goldberg removed from the Hall of Fame.
now we talked about this. Has he said more since the last
No,
comments he made?
no, but
Okay.
our audience needs to understand that you were a huge Bret Hart fan. I was a huge Goldberg fan, so there is a
Yeah.
dichotomy here.
Yeah.
But I do respect every single thing that Bret Hart has contributed. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. I always took his matches serious. I always felt like when Bret Hart came out, that match was up here just because he was in it. He took it to that next level, and the freak accident happened. Goldberg has apologized. I don't know how many times. Even people on Twitter who the internet don't like Goldberg that much because of how he was booked the last few years. The 99% were saying the same thing, like, okay, you gotta let it go, man. Like, even though it was a bad thing, and maybe Goldberg maybe stunk it up a few times, still it's like, let it go. And a lot of them said, echoed this, and this is my sentiment. You were in a business, the business that you were in, injuries happen, freak accidents happen. I like how he never speaks about how Owen Hart broke Stone Cold Steve Austin's neck. Never mentions that at all, ever. I get it, it's your brother. He had a tragic death, but it still happened. You won't let go of this Goldberg thing. If that kick never happened to this day, you would be wrestling right now anyway. So, and I heard that he had a concussion before that match, and the kick only made it worse. So, kind of like what just happened to Tua Tagovailoa, got a
Yeah. Yeah.
somewhat of a concussion, and then played too soon and got a worse concussion. That's pretty much what happened to him. So don't deflect and blame Goldberg. And Goldberg has said it 1,000 times. I've apologized to this man. He doesn't accept my apology. I'm not apologizing no more.
Well, look, man, everybody here knows I love Bret, met Bret. He's one of my all-time favorites, but we keep it real here. And I agree with everything you said. It's just, you know, Bret is asked about it a lot. And what I wish he would just do is say, look, I have talked about that. Ask me about something else. Ask me about my match with Stone Cold. Ask me about my Iron Man match with Shawn Michaels. I'm just kind of tired of talking about it, but he just can't let it go, man. And he lets himself, man, it's just sad to see Bret angry, bitter. I just hope, man, dude can just find some peace in his life and just quit talking about it. Like you said, Goldberg has apologized as much as he should, and probably more than he should. You shouldn't have to say you're sorry 100 times. If you say you're sorry once and you're sincere about it, most people would probably be big enough to accept your sincere apology,
Right.
but not Bret. He just cannot let it go.
Nope.
And that's on him. If he doesn't want to find that peace, if he doesn't want resolution in his own spirit, man, there's nothing more Goldberg or anyone can do or should do. I'm just hoping Bret at some point can just find peace. And look, man, put that energy into getting your brother into the Hall of Fame. Talk to your sister-in-law. That's Put your energy into doing something positive instead of just hanging on to these bitter, angry feelings, man. It's like poison in your body.
Hmm.
And if you don't let it go, it's just going to eat you alive. So, Bret, please, man, as a fan, let it go.
Yeah. Um. Don't address it. because the more you keep bringing it up, more you keep calling for this thing that happened 30 years ago. Was it 30? 1999.
Close,
Close
close.
enough.
Yeah, 23 years, but long
Yeah,
enough where, you should be able to, kind of, like I said, find peace with it and let it go.
exactly. It's that. And the other piece of news, probably the biggest piece of news, is the CM Punk situation. They're in talks with he's in talks with AEW for a buyout. And apparently what the delay is, can't believe I'm about to say this, is that they're trying to work out the non-compete time frame because they think somehow, some way, he's gonna wind up back in WWE. The Triple H regime has said we will do whatever is best for the company and whatever's going to provide success for the company. Put everything else to the side, personal beefs, whatever it is, whatever's good for the company. But even with that being said, I can't fathom Punk going back at the stuff he said about the company, that he was going to die if he stayed there because he was so sick. And the toxicity that existed before and the toxicity that existed 1 year after being in the AEW for 1 year. I really don't think Triple H is going to go for that. So I guess it's kind of a dumb question, but do you see any type of way that Punk ends up in WWE?
Well, here's what I will say. There is precedent for this in WWE. All right. And I hate to mention his name, bring him up, but Hulk Hogan once testified against Vince McMahon in a federal trial, could have sent Vince McMahon to prison, left WWE, as we all know, went to WCW, had a great career there, NWO, we all know about it. But Vince saw money and wanted to do what was best for the fans, brought Hogan back. We just talked about Bret Hart, the Montreal screw job.
Yeah.
Thought I would never see Bret Hart in a WWE ring again. Well, guess what? We did. Now, Triple H, Vince McMahon, two different individuals, but I think it's safe to say that Triple H has learned a lot from Vince McMahon and could probably put his personal feelings aside if he really thought this is something that the fans want and if he thought it would make money. Still, with all of that said, I don't see it happening. And for me, it's because of this reason. I really think CM Punk has showed his true colors.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when he left WWE and some of his grievances, I said, okay, I can kind of see his point. Other things I said, some of it just sounded like nature of the business stuff. Like that's just part of the wrestling business. I'm not sure why you're complaining. A lot of people took Punk's side and I said, I don't know. Two sides to every story. And somewhere in the middle of those two sides is the actual truth. So now CM Punk goes to AEW and he's all excited about it. I'm sure got paid a handsome sum from Tony Khan and talked
Mm-hmm.
about how this is just a great atmosphere and I want to work with that great young talent. And
Mm-hmm.
then just in a year says, oh, now I'm working with children.
Yeah.
All of those idiots in the back talking bad about Hangman, the Bucks, Omega, everybody. Just called everybody reporters. You talk about bitter. We were talking about Bret being bitter. I mean, CM Punk sounds like a bitter ass old man himself. So for me, if Triple H decides not to bring CM Punk back, it's not because of his personal feelings towards Punk. It's just right now, Punk is toxic. Do even the fans want to see Punk? Look, I was as excited as anybody when Punk returned to AEW, man. We all taldon't about that.
We did a show.
Yeah, man. Yeah, something else, something we never thought we would see. It was awesome. But now, I don't look, Punk never really impressed me in the ring in his return to AEW. And he definitely has not impressed me as an individual. I'm kind of over CM Punk. I don't need to see him back. I think his better days are behind him. And I'm cool with what Triple H is doing, bringing in the younger talent and building a foundation on them.
I do think the irony of that, what you just said, the Moxley Punk match was probably his best match in AEW. It's just sad because it's gonna be his last. Looks like. Um,
And the odd thing, not to cut you off, but the odd thing is that even before the scrum that got Punk into so much trouble, is a lot of the fans were behind Moxley in Chicago.
in Chicago,
So
it
Punk
was
had
split.
already started to kind of,
Yeah,
lose some of his fans even before that. That just, you know, pushed it over to a whole new level.
yeah. Any other time he's been in Chicago, even against Darby Allin when we were there for that. Very first match in AEW, we were there. It was 1,000% CM Punk.
Yep.
And then 1 year later, it split like totally 50-50. But the match was still great to me. I think that was, like I said, Punk's best match in AEW. I don't see how you could work it out. I mean, he would have to just be like it. The only scenario it would be he's big four, big five, only, never gonna hold a title, only gonna be used for certain feuds, and but at the end of the day, I don't see it happening. I just don't. I don't think Triple H is interested, and if he's not, then he's not gonna play ball. The people that Ariel Helwani asked Triple H about, there was a story for all of them, and he spoke like as if he understood why they weren't with the company anymore at the time, and he brought majority of them back. And even when they asked about Sasha Banks, who's kind of had a toxic relationship with WWE, he still didn't slam the door on her because I feel like he's kind of understands, like she's kind of torn between Hollywood and wrestling, and she does care about how her image is in WWE because of Hollywood. So that's why he said what he said. Like, well, what does she want to do? But it never got to the point where it was like. And the one thing I'll say about Sasha, when she does leave and go on her little breaks, she goes radio silent. She doesn't go on people's podcasts and talk trash or make cryptic tweets and cryptic posts or whatever. She just does Sasha. She just starts living her life and doing stuff. She's not talking bad about anybody. So, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, and that's all a good point. And I think another thing I want to say about Punk, and I don't think I said this when I was talking about, is that I really don't think Punk wants to come back to WWE. He's had ample opportunity. He even worked for WWE as an announcer on
The TV show
a
they
talk
had.
show. Yeah, so he's worked with them from that standpoint, and I'm sure there was talk trying to get him back in the ring. He didn't want to do it.
He said there was a number. He did
Yeah,
say there was a number.
he did say that, but I'll tell you what, to me, if Punk shows a desire to come back to WWE, I just think it's to spite AEW. And I don't think you want him under those circumstances.
No. And the other I think about it, and with Punk, the guy's made so much money, he doesn't even have to work.
No.
But I think when you're in that realm, outside of a handful of people, you make that much money. You don't never have to work another day in your life. I mean, what's the point? You're not, like you said, you're not lighting the world. You're not setting the world on fire with your in ring anyway. You're on the other side of 40 already. You're banged up. You can't stay healthy. So just work on a different craft. Find something else to do. Enjoy your life. You don't have to. You don't have to wrestle. If he never would have came back, it would have kind of sucked, but it would have been like, okay, he started doing other things to entertain us. That's kind of how I felt about Batista and The Rock when they went to Hollywood. I'm still seeing them, still getting entertained by them, but I'm just not seeing them in the ring. I grown used to that. Um, but yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. Um, but I think the dominoes are starting to roll. His manager got fired, so I think it'll be a matter of time before they work out this deal and he'll be let go as well. I don't that he can't go back to AEW. There's no way.
He can't. The locker room hates him. So they're I mean, he bashed the entire locker room. So why wouldn't they hate him? So yeah, you can't bring him back.
No.
You just can't.